Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo saranto sucheroye alahudi samyao sanputoshe. Wushang shen shen wei miao fa, bai qian wan jue nan zao yu. Wo jin jian wen de shou chi, yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, good afternoon. Welcome to our Sutra lecture. Good evening, depending on where you are around the planet. Shifu Shangren, Gowei Shishung, Daja Omitofo. My name is Heng Sure. Today is Sunday, March 14th. We're on Saturday, March 13th, if you're in California, Europe, elsewhere. We're about to launch into today's lecture on the Flower Garland Sutra, the Huayan Jing, Avatamsaka Sutra. And let's do that. As soon as we, see, we're going to come back to page 82. As soon as we invoke spiritual presence here in our provisional translation, we've got a running translation of the Huayan Jing here in multiple languages. And we're working on the 10 stages chapter, the Shi Dipin of the Avatamsaka, the Huayan Jing. So every time before we open up these texts, we make a request that invisibly the spiritual pantheon, the Changzhu Sambao, the three treasures, come to bless this assembly and everybody who's listening, all living beings. So we do that in Chinese, and it's Namo Da Fang Guangfo Huayan Jing Huayan Hai Hui Fo Pusa. That's how we do it. We do it with a melody. So I'd like to invite you to join, if you care to, with your palms together. Here we go. Now, back to page 80, something or other. And what's exciting and different about today, if you've been part of our lecture series for some time, as you know, we've been talking about the verses coming up. Well, we've reached them. We're at the verses today. And the first thing that happens before the verses is our speaker, kind of our teacher. His name is金刚藏Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva. We get a glimpse into his mind. It's very much like a glass window opened in the heart, the Shin heart-mind of Vajra Treasury, and we get to see why he is going to do this again. What's he going to do? He's going to repeat all the teachings that he's been giving for this long series, but he's going to do it with a chant. He's going to do it with music. And the music is not to sing it. He's going to put the teachings into verse. That's the point. And pay attention to this point. Why would he do that? Why would these instructions about being a bodhisattva, right? This is something he cares a lot about. He cares so much about it that he almost didn't do it because he was afraid people would get it wrong. So he didn't want to teach these. But the Buddha said, you should. Go ahead. Don't be afraid. Go ahead. Teach. You're the teacher. Here's the students. You go ahead. He was so concerned that they would get it wrong that he thought, no, better safe than sorry is what he said, right? So the Buddha said, no, you don't want to miss this opportunity to teach it. Make yourself happy. Follow your wish, right? Follow your vow. Teach the 10 stages. So he's going to do that now from the top. He's done it all the way through just talking. Now he's going to sing it. And the thing about singing is that when we do it with a meter, when we do it with a beat, it synchronizes with our heart. That's why we love music and why, did you all see that wonderful video of the elder gentleman in the elders care facility, right? The old man in an old folks home who had been out of touch. The nurses, the caregivers, his family couldn't get through to him. He had put himself into some sort of a room in his head that no one else could get into. And a researcher came along and said, try this to the caregiver, and handed her headphones connected to like a Walkman this happened back in the times of tapes. They had made a mixtape of this old gentleman's favorite songs. And he had been so unresponsive, right? They had tried everything and he was out of touch. He was not available, right? This happened for a year. They put the headphones on him and hit play, and the music hit his ears. His eyes lit up, his head picked up, his posture changed. He started to sing along, and they were just in tears because nothing had worked to touch him. But this did, the music. Somehow the music goes deep. We remember that when we can't remember our own name. We remember the music that once we moved our hips to, right? We danced to, we sung along, we walked to the rhythm. We remember those things. So having Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva repeat again the same teachings he gave before, but this time do it in verse. So it goes bum, ba, bum, ba, bum, bum. There's 7, ba, 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 ba. 7 syllables. This is intended, again, to go into his students' hearts because he wants us to get it. He's a good teacher. He wants us to understand. So that's what's going to happen today. Before we get there, before we get to verse number 1, the sutra shows us his motive. Plural, motives. Why is he doing this? What's the purpose of his teaching? What does he hope will happen? Right? And it's really revealing. I was so pleased to see what the sutra tells us he's out for. What's his payoff, right? What is he hoping to accomplish by teaching? It's just as if a window opens in his heart and we get to see what moves Vajra Treasury. You know what he comes out as? A teacher. He's a real instructor. The same way Confucius, there's this wonderful picture of Confucius with his hands together like this and a kind of a worried look on his face, hoping his students understand what he wants to teach. So that's what's happening. Are we ready? We get these reasons first, the paragraph of reasons, then we get to the first verse. All right? Can you all see the sutra? Can you see the text there? I'll read it in Chinese and then read the English. Ready? 尔时金刚藏菩萨观察十方一切众会，普周法界，欲赞叹发一切智智心，欲实现菩萨境界，欲尽致菩萨横力，欲说摄取一切种智道，欲除灭一切世间垢，欲施于一切智，欲示现不思议智庄严，欲愿示一my mistake， 欲显示一切菩萨诸功德，欲令如是地义转更开显，成佛身力而说颂言。There it is. Ready? At that time, Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva contemplated all the multitudes in the assemblies throughout the 10 directions, extending everywhere throughout the Dharma realm, wishing to praise those who made the resolve for the wisdom of omniscience, wishing to reveal the states of bodhisattvas, wishing to refine and put in order the strength of bodhisattva practices, wishing to explain the path to gathering and sustaining the wisdom of all modes, wishing to get rid of worldly defilements, wishing to bestow omniscience, wishing to display the inconceivable adornments of wisdom, wishing to reveal bodhisattva's meritorious virtues, and wishing to allow such teachings of the sages to circulate more widely, he received the Buddha's awesome spiritual strength and chanted the following verses. All right, there it is. Now, this is real sutra language. And I wanted to make sure that the sutra language didn't get in the way of our understanding it. Sometimes it's vocabulary and we go, oh, nope, sorry, nope, that's not me, can't, that's too lofty, I don't get it. So let's unpack it. First of all, there we go. First of all, what happens? Vajra Treasury looks around. It's his time. He's in the spot. He's got the mic. That's really, he is holding the microphone. He's looking ahead of himself, to the left, to the right, behind, intermediate, looking below, looking above, coming back to his heart. He knows his audience. That's really clear. This happens before each time a sutra is going to give the Dharma, right? This is what happens first, which is what? the speaker looks around. He's checking out who's here because he really does want people to get it. He gets no benefit out of being philosophical or being obscure or being powerful or in charge. No, what he wants is to talk to the heart so people light up. Why is this so? Why can I say that with such confidence, right? Because remember what motivates bodhisattvas. What's a bodhisattva? A bodhisattva is somebody who could go ahead to Buddhism, to Buddhahood. They could stop. A bodhisattva is already in the door. He is a Ru Man Dizi, right, of the Buddha. He's an adept. He's good at what he's doing. He's a good cultivator, good meditator, good praise singer, good mantra reciter. Can bow with the best of them, right? But he doesn't. He doesn't go ahead. He says, right, that's the door that leads me to nirvana, and I'm coming back out. I'm not going to go there. I'm going to avoid total, complete success, graduation, the fruition of the path, because all I have to do is look to my left and right at the faces of the people around me, and I know they are still confused. They're still turning their back to liberation and running into the briars. They're still picking up what they know tangles them. They're still taking handcuffs and clicking them on their wrists, click, right? They're still picking up and swallowing things that make them sick. I know it. That's because why? They are my brothers, my sisters, my parents, my kids, me just a short time ago. And I need to think of a way to set them free, to break the confusion, to banish the murkiness, to get them out of that, well, I think so, but I'm not really sure, and yet sometimes I'm clear, but other times I'm just like scared, right? He knows that. Bodhisattva totally can hold that in his heart. Yep, I know, those are my people, so how could I turn my back on them and leave, right? That's what a bodhisattva is like. They could get free and they choose not to until they set free everyone else. Now, before we drop that idea, let's be sure that the bodhisattva is never gonna get free. He, she, gender neutral, plans to reach nirvana, set out on the path in order to reach liberation himself, herself. And the two things that she has picked up in order to get them ultimately to liberation for themselves are called practices and vows. Two things, Heng, Yuan, Pusa Heng, and Pusa Yuan, the Bodhisattva's practices and the Bodhisattva's vows. What are they? The vows say, I'm going to cross every single living being over, take them over to liberation. How many living beings are there? Well, a lot. So that's the vow. Two, the things that make living beings suffer, called afflictions, are infinite, but I'm going to end them. I'm going to find a way, using the Dharma, to end those afflictions. Three, the practices of the Dharma are numberless. I'm going to learn every single one of them so that I can be the best possible doctor, the best possible contractor building palace of liberation. I'm going to learn all those practices. Furthermore, the Buddhist path is the highest way. I'm going to attain it. Those are the vows. Bodhisattvas make those. And then they take their wristwatch, even if it's a brand new Apple Watch, they take their wristwatch and put it in the drawer, give it to their kid, right? They're not keeping time. They're not holding their breath. Am I enlightened yet? Am I enlightened yet? Am I enlightened yet? They don't do that. They say, nope. When living beings are liberated, when afflictions end, when practices are mastered, when I'm a Buddha, naturally, I'm done. Those are Bodhisattva's vows. And the practices are the other one. And this particular sutra where we are, this is the Avatamsaka, right? This is the Hua Yin Jing. The Avatamsaka is the place where those practices are kept. For example, give an example. There's an amazing long chapter called Li Shi Jian Pin, the chapter on leaving the world behind. That is a list of practices. There are thousands. And each one is named, right? And there's one bodhisattva in particular who knows all those practices by name and can do them. Who is it? Pushen Pusa, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. He is the bodhisattva of great practices. He's the librarian. He keeps them all, right? Okay, good. Practices and vows. Vajra Treasury looks around, sees everybody's face. I know what you could use this. Yeah, I can give you this. Please take it from me. I want to give it to you. I'm going to give these 10 practice, the 10 stages, the Shi Di Pin. I'm going to explain them. And here's why. Number one, I want to praise those who have made the resolve for the Ichi Zhi, he says. He wants to praise. Notice that red word there. What is it? That's a verb. This is why. This is why he's going to explain this. He is setting his intention. Plural, intentions. Give that an S. Setting his multiple intentions for chanting the 10 grounds verses. Here's why this Bodhisattva is doing this. I want to praise those who made the resolve for Ichi Zhi. What is he doing? Encouraging us. He's saying, go, 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 go. Furthermore, if there are people who are like, maybe, right? 可有可无. Right? Weekend bodhisattvas, right? Holiday bodhisattvas. They call them Christmas and Easter Catholics, right? He wants to inspire them. So he praises. That's the first thing it says. He's going to praise those who have said, I can have wisdom. Made the resolve. Fa Ichi Zhi Zhi Xin. He says, good for you, man. You are awesome. You have put down so much in order to pick up that thought. You have, now listen, why am I saying it this way? It's hard to come back into the human realm in a female body. No, it's not hard. It's easy to do that if you have the requisite blessings, but it's hard to make the resolve for the wisdom of omniscience if you are in a female body, because why? Cultural biases. What does culture tell you? Culture tells you that girls can't or girls shouldn't, right? What was I watching last night before I went to sleep? I was scanning through my Twitter feed and it said, NASA, want to watch a spacewalk? And I'm like, yeah. Live from the International Space Station last night, there's a spacewalk on. It's like, okay, live from, if this were night, we might be able to see it. I don't know where I have an app in my phone that tells you where the International Space Station, ISS, where it is. You could see it in real time, but because of the magic of NASA's cameras, they took us right in to the chamber where two astronauts were preparing. One was named Cooper, one was named something, Foster. They were about to go into the airlock and go out into space to do like 8 different repairs on the International Space Station. Who was setting them up was another astronaut, happened to be a woman. I didn't get her name, but she was in charge of the 2 astronauts about to go out and do the spacewalk. And they were like totally depending on her to get it right. She was in contact with Houston, the NASA's mission control, and they were monitoring her, what she was doing, but she was the boss in there. I'm going, right. Somebody told her when she was about 10 years old, go for science. You want to do math? Do math. You want to do biology? Do biology. You want to do physics? Do physics. You want to be an engineer? Go for it. And then, probably somewhere in high school, somebody said, "Did you ever imagine you could fly a plane?" Fly a plane? I always wanted to fly a plane. Here, we'll take you up. And she became a student pilot, I'm guessing, right, hypothetically. And then pretty quickly, oh, you know, I would like to get my pilot's license. And then, do you suppose I could join the Navy, Air Force, Marines, Army, and be a flyer? Before you knew it, she was a test pilot. She signed up for astronaut school. Here she's in charge, right? Nobody told her you can't because you're a woman, because you're just a girl. Her parents didn't tell her that story. They said, instead, go for it. See what you can do. Try your best, right? Master Hua was famous for saying, try your best. So, Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva is here encouraging beginners who have said to themselves, I wonder if I could have real wisdom. Could that sutra actually be real? Not a philosophy book, not an obscure scripture? Could it be instructions for becoming a bodhisattva and a Buddha? I hope so, because I want to do that. And those who are not yet quite there, who sometimes see it, but sometimes, oh, well, you know, my husband kind of has that look on his face every time I say something slightly far out, right? Still, so I really don't think I can, but sometimes I do. When I get to the temple, I just feel like I could fly, even though not in a plane. My spirit goes free when I'm in front of the Buddhas, right? Okay, Vajra Treasury says, right, we understand why there are 1,000 stories in the Dharma realm. And every one of us has a history of relationships and obstacles and debts. Sometimes it's just one person who gets in your face and says, nah, kind of pours water on your heart, right? Puts out the fire. Or someone who is afraid that you might leave them behind. And so what do? They tempt you. They throw all kinds of things they think you might like so that what? They won't be left behind. They don't care if you succeed or not. As long as you don't get ahead, they don't feel so bad. And so they're willing to sacrifice your Bodhi resolve so that they can stay down in the trenches and don't have to work so hard. And you think, oh, that's so nice. They're giving me this attention. They're giving me these perks, right? These treats. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's hugs. Maybe it's whatever, right? And you think that's so nice of them. Not at all, man. It's violent. They are doing damage to your Bodhi resolve so that they can stay down in the trenches, right? So, yeah, you have to use your wisdom and listen to who? Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva. He encourages those to make the resolve for the wisdom. He says, yeah, you too, you can do it. You can have wisdom, real wisdom. It is your own, and no one can take it from you. Furthermore, those people who are there to keep you, pull you down in the hole that he's in, as Bob Dylan used to say, you find compassion for them. You say, I know. Well, you know what? Don't be afraid. We can both get there together. I'm not going to leave you behind. In fact, once I get to wisdom, you're going to feel like I'm kind of on your case a lot. I'll be closer to you than I was before because I'll have less obstructing me. So what's next? Wishing to reveal the states of bodhisattvas. The first one was praise. Second verb, wishing to 显示菩萨境界. What is this? Okay, once Vajra Treasury kind of eggs you on, entices you on, gives you that push, scolds you on, pushes you onto the path, he needs to keep you moving. Next step, next step. So what does he do? He shows you a little bit, the fruition of the work. He's going to steady those who are already walking, and he's going to kind of take the steps to keep you going, the fruition of this work. It was wonderful to see Master Hua, to see Shifu do this part. Because why? Shifu had a difficult task, of course. I don't know his state, but if he just out and out showed us his abilities, that would have done all kinds of mischief for people who maybe doubted spiritual powers, maybe who were completely empirical, scientific in their outlook, or worse, if Shifu showed psychic powers or that he knew he could read our minds, et cetera, right? People might say, oh, he's going to take me across. He'll do it all, right? I have such a powerful teacher, I can goof off and he'll still save me, right? People, when we encounter something that our senses can't explain, it's tricky. But if he didn't do anything, people would maybe get bored. They would just kind of drift away. I think this is very ordinary, or just too far out. You can't, too far away. So how do you just thread that needle, thread the eye of that needle, right? How do you do that? Perfect. Shifu would give us just a little to keep us going. So here we are in a place called Muar, Malaysia, Mapo, little town in Malaysia, small town, right? And has a monastery, Mahayana monastery with a monk. And the temple invited us to come and speak Dharma and spend the night. So, oops, I'm getting messages, network in red, network in yellow, now in yellow. It's okay now, huh? So our network is fluctuating. So anyway, now it's okay. All right, so here we are, we're in Mapo, and Master Hua's reputation preceded him. People heard that he was a Tapusa, right? A great bodhisattva, which he did not encourage people to say. He wouldn't let you say things like that. But they heard that he could heal. And so we get out of the car. We've been driving from KL to Muar on the way to Coast and Klang, right? And as soon as we get out of the car, this young woman comes running over and grabs onto Shifu's robes. And she's like, she wants to hug him, but she's afraid, but she can't not do it. She grabs the robe. So We are like, hey, excuse me, stop. Pull her off. You can't touch Shifu like that. And he said, Shifu was very kind. He didn't react negatively or, he just said, Zamyang. And the teacher, the monk, who was the host there, the abbot of the temple, said, 你可以跟他讲，不要碰他，你就跟他说话, right? He says, you can tell him, just don't touch him. Tell him. So this little girl says, oh, it's my father, it's my father. My father, he never should have eaten that stuff, she says. It's like, what, And she said, he's over here, I brought him today. And so she ran over to the side of we haven't even come in to bow to the Buddha yet. We just got it to the car, out of the car, heading to the front door. And she brings this old man over. And you can see that this young woman is a kind, good daughter. She's filial. She hopes Shifu will help her father because she's heard his reputation. She's apparently belongs to the temple, but she's got no idea what a monk is, really. So she hopes he will heal her dad. Her dad steps up, and his eyes had rolled back into his head, so you could only see the whites of his eyes. Kind of zombie-like, yes, really. And, his eyes are rolled back. You could see just the white. His eyes were white. And he had foam coming out of his mouth. And he was aimless. His spirit was not his own. 心不在焉, he looked like he was in a trance somehow. He didn't look right at all. And his color was pale and bloodless, right? And she said, ever since he ate that stuff, he hasn't been right. And so Shifu took one look, and he was walking with his cane, his guaizhang, right? And so Shifu said, stand back, everybody, stand back. And he took his guaizhang, and on the top of the man's head, gave him a bang, 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 3 hits, hard, right? Dong. Not to hurt him, but if you would have felt it, right? Bang, bang, bang. And the old man suddenly, like he'd been shot with electricity, like he touched the wire, he stumbled over to the edge of the temple steps and started to vomit out white, maggoty worms. Ugly, ugly, stinky, maggoty worms, emptying his stomach buckets full of these white, came out of his mouth, vomiting all over the steps. And he just kept it up, and we're all like, what is going on? And Shifu came over and in a kind but very firm way said, after this, you cannot cheat. After this, you may not break your vows. I saved you this time. You have to change and go right, he said. And he looked at the daughter and he said, you know what I'm talking about? She said, we all know, Shifu. He couldn't seem to stop himself. He cheated on my mom. And the woman he cheated with hexed him, 落缸头, 下蛊毒, hexed him with gu poison, which in Malaysia, Singapore, now apparently in Hong Kong too, Thailand, Burma, is something that happens. It's voodoo magic of the darkest, ugliest kind. And somehow this gentleman had found the wrong girlfriend. She was a sorceress and she hexed him. She made him eat something and completely hexed him. And out came these worms. So at this point, after Shifu said this and the girl was telling the story, we're still standing around just kind of, in awe of what's happening. And the man's complexion had turned pink. His eyes were focusing. And he was so ashamed, he leaned down and grabbed Shifu's ankles and just hugged him like that. And Shifu said, go bow to the Buddha. After this, you have to change. You can't cheat like that, all right? No one can save you, right? So he's crying. Blah, blah, blah. So Shifu says, let's all go bow to the Buddha now. So we all go in and bow to the Buddha. Lunchtime, let's go eat, you know. So we're like, this incredible drama happened in 5 minutes on the steps of the temple in Muar, Malaysia. And every now and then, you know, we would see what Shifu could do, but he would always teach according to conditions when the situation arose. And he made absolutely nothing of it. There was no, and the girl, you know, was handing him bread out. He said, no. He said, just help your father, you know, this, and it was just part of the day. This was ordinary stuff for Master Hua, but he helped people when he could and when the situation was right. So this is this gudu, then the Cantonese call it luo gang tao. This hexing is very much alive, black magic in Southeast Asia. And I think a little bit in Taiwan. We haven't heard of so much of it in Taiwan. Almost rare, really rare, almost never in America, but it really does still exist. And so there's a lot more to the story, but I'll save that for later. So this is how Vajra Treasury says the Bodhisattva does what? Continues to reveal the states of Bodhisattvas to show that things happen as you cultivate. And for those who are already on the path, may they be encouraged and steadied, right? Okay, the next one, how did it go? The next one was to 怎么样啊？就说静智菩萨横力. This is the next wish. He wants to refine and put in order the strength of Bodhisattva's practices. That is to say, to refine and put in order the strength of Bodhisattva practices. What did I say about the Li Shi Jianping? The Avatamsaka Sutra has this chapter called Leaving the World, right? And it's, I think, 2,000, is it 2,000 practices? Numbered? Not, they're not numbered, but they're put in order. Samantabhadra Bodhisattva goes through and tells you, he gives you 10 by 10 by 10, all these incredible abilities that the Bodhisattva has, like tools, medicines in the medicine kit, waiting for the opportunity to use to teach this living being. And Vajra Treasury has already looked around. He knows who's here. He knows what will work. But how many times does a good doctor take your pulse, read the chart, read the blood test results, right? Read the MRI, read this CAT scan, read the X-ray, give you a perfect medicine that will cure you, but guess what? We don't take it, right? How frustrating for doctors to prescribe the perfect medicine and then we kind of take it one day and then not the second day, right? Put it on the shelf. Best of intention, but we didn't bother, you know. That's really frustrating. Then we come back to the doctor and say, it didn't work, you know. Tough. That's living beings in a nutshell. So he wants to refine and put in order the strength of Bodhisattva's practices. What is this? Okay, this is step 3. Now, at this point, some people who are cultivating, who've made the resolve for the wisdom of wisdoms, the wisdom of omniscience, they have been encouraged, they're already on the path, and they can now, for the first time, use the left brain to see the whole system. Oh, first stage, second stage, third stage, up to 10th stage. Now I'm starting to get a grasp of it, right? This is sequential. This is the third verb. First was praising, because they're still outside the door. Next is showing, to say, keep going. Now it's like, oh, you want to understand what's happening here? You want to like think it through also? Good. Now I will give you 10 by 10 by 10, give you a little bit of a philosophy behind it, because why? Now we're hooked. We're not going to stop. We're on the path. We are using patience. We're using vigor. We're starting to get familiar, and it's starting to become ours, right? The Bodhisattva path, we've done it enough that we can see, oh, right, yeah, okay, well, I'm going to recite those mantras. I'm going to settle in. Going to use the method, right? Because I'm starting to refine and put in order the strength of Bodhisattva's practices. Okay? Now, what's next? He is going to next, oops, hit the wrong one. There we go. Next is 欲说摄取一切种智道. The verb is 摄持一切. Hold it. Explain. Here, this is the one I want. There we go. Yeah, that's right. Just a moment, please. Refine and put in order. 静智. Yeah, okay, that's it. Okay, next is, the verb is explain. The path to 摄取一切种智道. Okay. He's explaining the path to 摄取, where you see, showing how to sustain. Let's see, explaining. Let me try it again. Go away. Explaining, it's first verb. Explaining the real goals and showing how to sustain and support cultivation. There we go. So what is it? Now we're mid-path, right? Bodhisattva is on the road. He or she is committed. They're letting other stuff go in order to pick up practices. They used to be big on Mahjong. It's so funny. Chinese culture in Singapore, Chinese culture in Taiwan, Chinese culture in Malaysia, Hong Kong. I can't speak for China. I don't know if this is considered decadent and capitalist road. Do people, 中国大陆打不打麻将? 打. Yeah, okay, good. They do. So, Mahjong, right, is a big deal. Oh man, I remember we had a friend who was a 空中小姐. She was a flight attendant on Huahang, the flag carrier of Taiwan, and China Airlines. Not Air China. Air China is China. Huahang, China Airlines is Taiwan. And she said, she said, don't tell anybody I told you this. Okay, I will. I'm going to tell everybody that you told me. She said, you know what's wrong? She says, as soon as our flight crews reach San Francisco and check out, right? Get their little Travel Pro suitcase down off the plane. First stop is an upstairs apartment close to the airport. They hang their hat up on the hat rack. The chair is waiting for them. They sit down at the Mahjong table. They play all night. They play until their next flight. She says, actually, we had a problem with pilots showing up for their next flight kind of groggy because why? They'd played Mahjong too long, all night. He said it's so popular, and the Mahjong games never stop in the hotels and the apartments surrounding the airport where the flight crews recharge and refuel. So man, oh man, and it's gambling, right? Money changes hands in a big way. She said, this is what they do. It's so popular. And who knew, right? So, okay. So this is what we used to do. In Berkeley, California, we have our counterpart to Mahjong, right? What do we do? Well, worldwide now, interestingly, it's become this, right? Become what we do on our smartphone, by golly. We all heard the story a few years back about the young men in Korea who were so busy with their international multiplayer video game that they would play for days at a time, forget to eat, and die at their terminal, right? And as long as they paid for the seat in the internet cafe, nobody bothered them. Then they noticed that they hadn't moved in a couple of days. They went over, he died right there, hand on the mouse, right? So yeah, okay. Before we heard about the Tao, the path, and the wisdom of all modes, we binged watched on Netflix or just never let go our cricket bat, stayed out there on the cricket pitch, right? Whatever it was. Now things are different. We can let that go. Let the Mahjong game, let somebody else take our chair. Send the money home to Popo that we would have spent on the gambling table. And instead, go next door to the 24-hour Mahjong game. What are they doing? Yoga and meditation. They're engaging in vegan cooking classes. They're studying ways to reduce a carbon footprint and sustain clean air so all people can live a little longer, right? So in other words, now people hear the Dharma, they've touched the sutra, they've got some good friends who put them in a different car at the airport as they come out with their pilot suitcase, and that car takes them to a Vipassana retreat, right? And they look into their mind. They find ways to strengthen and flex their bodies. And when they get back on the airplane heading back to Taiwan, they are refreshed and energized and clear-minded and resolved, right? So things are different these days. The Bodhisattva here on the 10th stage says, Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva, I want to be able to explain the path and to gather and sustain my life of wisdom, my Fasen Hui Ming. They call it the Dharma body and wisdom life, this real thing that we have now, growing right inside our physical body. Bodhisattva wants to sustain that, keep it moving, feed it, right? Support it. So he's doing something different now. Letting go of the old stuff that scattered and made him deficient, depleted his yuan qi, his fundamental energy. Now he is sustaining that yuan qi, right? Different, feels different now. Okay, what else? Wishing to get rid of worldly defilements. Okay, you know what? We got to take a break here. If this were a podcast, I've gone too long letting you hear my voice. We got to cleanse the palate. What's coming up this Wednesday? St. Patrick's Day, don't you know? rocky road to Dublin. So St. Patrick's Day, significant. Why would I introduce that in the middle of a sutra lecture? Number one, so you can hear something other than my voice. Number two, because my father's family, bless their hearts, came from the Emerald Isle, Ireland, indeed. And one big part of Irish culture is the music. And I find those sounds just inspire me. Name that tune. Anybody know that one? What's the name of the tune? You're half right. The Matter of Hobbits from Lord of the Rings. Correct. So 10 points to Alex. Yeah, lovely tune. Anyway, so happy St. Patrick's Day. We will drink green tea instead of green beer. No green beer, but green tea. What does the Bodhisattva say? Why is he, she, speaking, chanting these praises? The reason being, 欲除灭一切世间垢. He wants to get rid of worldly defilements. Why? My interpretation of why is he knows he's given the real stuff. It's so true. These sutras are the real deal. There's no hair's worth of falseness in the Avatamsaka Sutra. If you want to understand wisdom, here's how. This is it. Pick it up. And it's all yours. Nobody, you don't have to go through any door, gate, application form, certification process to pick up the Dharma. It's public domain, Creative Commons license, all yours. But the Bodhisattva wants to get it right. He doesn't want to mess it up. He doesn't want to tarnish it, stain it. He got to improve the signal, get it right. So what would tarnish the signal? Defilements, greed, anger, delusion, selfishness, wanting to get something back for doing it, right? So he gets rid of worldly defilements to purify the signal, get the noise out of the signal. Okay, what else? 于是一切种智，施予一切种智. He wants to give wisdom. How do you give wisdom? You can't really make somebody wise. You can show them how. You can encourage them. You can embody it. You can show it instead of tell it, right? Make sure they hear it right. But this is what motivates the Bodhisattva is generosity in giving wisdom. I like it. What a gift. What else? 以示现不思议之庄严. Oh boy. He wants to display the inconceivable adornments of wisdom. So what's that like? When you're wise, you know what an inconceivable adornment to wisdom is? People agree with you. How about your kids? When was the last time you told your kids to do something and they said, oh, okay, sure, right away? I was famous for having a smart mouth. I talked back, and so I was grounded a lot as a teenager because it was more important to me to talk back to my mother than it was to just say, okay, you bet, right now, right? It was always later. I'll do it when I get around to it, right? Oh, my poor mother. So one of the adornments of wisdom is when you speak from your nature, from that true heart, everybody hears it. They don't argue. Do it now, right away. That's to encourage those well along on the path, right? So now, this is not for beginners, it's not for intermediates. This is for people who have been cultivating for a while. The Bodhisattva shows them what happens when you cultivate for a long time is you start to, the things you say ring true. You say a word and people go, me too. No, because it's clearly the right thing. Master Hua was always cardinal colors. Shifu didn't speak in pastels, right? You knew where he stood in terms of right and wrong. It was clear, right? Oh, okay. No, Shifu would say, or 可以. All right, next, coming up here, what else? 欲示现一切菩萨诸功德. Wanting to reveal Bodhisattva's meritorious virtues. Okay, what is gongda? It's that, they say, the power that can cut without harming. Some people translate gongda as power, like Dao De Jing is the way and its power. I think Leggy used to translate it that way. De is a quality of the nature. It's a light. It's revealed from within. And where does it come from? It comes from what you do as a human being. This is not from heaven. The sutra doesn't come down from far away. It's not exclusive. It's not for this person, but not that person. It's how did you, after you put your shoes on today, or your flip-flops if you're in Australia, after you put on your flip-flops, how did you behave? What did you do? That's what leads to Pusa Gongda, right? It's not far away. It's right under our feet. So the Bodhisattva wants, by showing how Bodhisattvas, this Bodhisattva teaching Bodhisattva's Gongda, puts it in human terms. Okay, so we can see it. We go, oh, I could do that too. Me too. I could really do that, right? Then what else? 欲令如是地义转更开显. Wishing to allow such teachings of the stages to circulate more widely. Why do we say, you know, what's the, there's all kinds of Bodhisattva code, Buddhist code for this. It's 静智人心, what do they say? 广度众生, okay, extensively cross living beings over, right? There's all kinds of code for this. And the point of this all is freedom, because we're not, right? Until we actually put an end to desire, we are bound up. And from one point of view, we're in Mara's realm, right? Until we get out of the desire realm and into the form realm, the Brahma realm, we are not our own bosses. We still can be turned around, right? Once we get into the dhyanas, 初禅, 二禅, 三禅, first, second, third, and fourth dhyana, then we get a little bit of choice, a little bit of freedom, because we're in the realm of the Brahma heaven, right? On the path towards what? The liberation of arhatship, nirvana. Okay, well, bodhisattvas are beyond arhats. So there's stages, grades of freedom. the same motive applies in every case, which is what? I want to get free. I don't want to have to die when the time comes. I want to have something to say when my time comes to go. I can choose, right? That is truly inconceivable that somebody could say that to mortality, right? King Yama's messenger shows up and you go, "Dangi dang," not yet, right? And he goes, "Shandai, Shananzi. King Yama and I will wait," right? So, man, that is incredible. But that is why we want the teachings to circulate more widely, so that freedom is available. And ultimately, my vows can end too, right? Says the Bodhisattva. Okay, got it? Here we go. He receives the Buddha's awesome spiritual strength and chants the following verses. That's it. Okay. The verses are coming up. Save that. Our Lullaby here, too, wants to get free. But in the meantime, he would like to eat some of this bush till he's free. He's got, after all, with a tail that long and feet that big, you need a lot of bushes, need a lot of greens. Okay, here's our first verse. How are we going to chant it? Let's try this. Let's see, something like this. Try that. T as to D. I'm going to change the pitch. I'm going to give you a line. You can give it back to me if you care to. Easy. Listen, just follow my voice. Qi xin ji mie heng tiao shun. Qi xin ji mie heng tiao shun. Ping dang wu ai ru xu kong. 应当无碍如虚空，立诸垢浊诸欲道，立诸垢浊诸欲道，此殊胜恒如应听，此殊胜恒如应听。 Right? Something like that? Yeah. Dee da 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 dee da dum, dee da 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 dee da da. Dee da 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 dee da dum, da da dum, dee da dum. Simple. Okay. Now, this is a typo right there. That's a mind. His mind, not minds, right? Here we go. His mind still in quiet. Let's see. His mind still in quiet, in harmonious accord. His mind still in quiet, in harmonious accord. Unbiased, free from obstructions like infinite space. Unbiased, free from obstructions like infinite space. Without defilement or turbidity, abiding in the Tao. Without defilement or turbidity, abiding in the Tao. Let us listen now to these sublime practices. Let us listen now to these sublime practices. Okay, what are these? These are called chant tones. They're called chant tones. Where did I come up with these? From Father Cyprian Concilio, the prior of New Camaldoli, Benedictine convent, hermitage in Big Sur, California. Father Cyprian, I'm sure if he somebody says, Cyprian, the monk is slandering your chant tones, I shouldn't claim them as his because I've got them wrong. And I want to say, first of all, Cyprian, apologies. I'm working on it. Why do we do this? Why do we credit the Catholics for these? Because 8 times a day, the monks at New Kamalali put their robes on, go into the church, and sing the Psalms. And they do them with chant tones. Father Cyprian was the liturgist and the roving bard, among other things. He is currently the prior. He's now the abbot. But his introduction, his creation of the way to sing the Psalms in English, not in Latin, was adopted by many, many of his Benedictine and Trappist brothers and sisters because they were so good, right? They come from Pentatonic, which is the same scale that we use in China, in the Chinese Mahayana. But they allow, the thing about the chant tones is you can make them long and short according to the syllables. His mind still in quiet and harmonious accord, right? You can string out the syllables as long as you need in order to fit them all in. Unbiased, free from obstructions like infinite space, without defilement or turbidity, abiding in the Tao. Let us listen now to these sublime practices, right? These are very elastic and they're very beautiful, so that no matter how many syllables you have, you can fit them. The Chinese is slightly different because they're 7, 7, 7, much easier to fit a tune to. And we will be, as we go along, we will be doing both the Chinese so that people can happily. Our experience was when we were in, I think we started this with the 5th practice, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th practice. Whenever we got to the verses, we chanted the chant tones. And I was kind of nervous about it at the start because I thought, wow, number one, I don't do it right according to the Cyprian's teaching. I get them slightly wrong. But what if people don't sing along? What if it doesn't work? What if people go, what are you doing? You're destroying the sutra. You know? Didn't happen. Instead, people were like, yeah, I can sing that. I like that, you know. And I heard people go out the door, da dee dee da da dee dee da 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 dee da da dee dum dee da 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 dee da dum, you know. So it's like, okay. Why are we doing this? The sutra says, "Ar shuo song yue," or "Ar shuo song yan." Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva did not speak the verses, he chanted the verses. He sang the verses. They go bum, ba, bum, 7, bum, da, da, dee, da, 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 dee, da, 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 right? He didn't go da, 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 he went da, dee, dee, da, dee, da, dum, dee, da, 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 dee, da, dee, dum. So we're gonna try this and see if you don't go out of the Buddha Hall, if we don't leave Zoom or YouTube. Dee da 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 dee da dum. His mind still in quiet and harmonious accord, unbiased, free from obstructions like infinite space, without defilement or turbidity, abiding in the Tao. Let us listen now to these sublime practices. So, Bodhisattva's mind is still in quiet. It's in harmonious accord. He's been hearing this Dharma for so long, who wouldn't be mellow, right? He's unbiased. He doesn't care whether you like him, dislike him. He's going to be true to the Dharma coming out of his nature because his nature is now uncovered. The sutra is speaking from him. The Buddha has given him his blessing, right? There's no obstruction. The darkness is gone. The light is lit. The candle of this Bodhisattva's nature is a light.
And furthermore, his expanse is infinite, like space. He can keep talking if need be, right? He'll start over from the top and tell you all the parts you didn't get. No defilement, no turbidity. What you're hearing from the sutra is pure, 100%, 24 karat, bona fide, zhen zhen shi shi, right? And he's abiding in the Tao, which means it's responsive. It flows this way, then it flows that way, and it makes vapor, and then it makes ice, and it's still the Tao. Let us listen now to these sublime practices. You bought the ticket, you paid your money, here comes the good stuff. All right? Here we go. That's the first one. Verse number 1, more to come. Stay tuned. By golly. Okay. We have one of the things that I'm going to do as I listen with everybody to the 10 practices verses is I'm going to tune, I have biases. I definitely have preferences myself. I'm not like the second stage Bodhisattva, the 10th stage Bodhisattva. I'm going to be talking about the environment. I'm kind of giving you a clue about my prejudice and my bias. The American president, we don't do politics here, but the American president in 52 days now has already gone, he promised he was going to, he was going to vaccinate 100 people in 100 days. You're going to, no, I'm sorry, 1 million vaccinations. And he is on track now to do it in 60 days, not 100 days. He's way ahead of his promise. He's under-promising and over-performing, right? Once the American Rescue Plan is law, as it is now, he's turning to infrastructure and ways to make people's presence in a body on the planet better and sustainable environment. Everything that he is doing now is tuned to the environment. So that's very much in accord with my wish, because I have, traveling the world, I've seen the limits of the systems we have in play right now. For example, drinking water. Here in the Gold Coast of Australia, I turn on the tap, fill a glass, and drink it right down, happily. We've seen the reservoir, Hens Dam, where our water comes from, here on the Gold Coast. I've seen it. When it rains here, the dam fills up. They have to currently, we've had so much rain, they've had to let it flow out. They have to open the dam and release some of the water because it's full. It goes right into our taps and right into my body. It's so clean. It tastes good, it's clean. The air here in the Gold Coast is clean and breathable. There are cities currently in India, I'll say, that they say breathing the air in city X, I won't say what it is, shortens your life by 8 years, just breathing the air. Because why? Indian social policy has not addressed environmental pollution, air pollution, the way activists in India want it to happen, right? It's just that, like America, the last 4 years, environment was nowhere to be seen, environmental concerns. India has similar political issues. The resolve in the hearts of the people is so strong that they want to clean up. They want to see the Taj Mahal, right? Now, on bad days, you can't see the Taj Mahal. There's a curtain of haze, right? Well, that's not the heart of the people. And the activists, the climate activists in India are working so hard, but the political will is wanting. So 8 years of your life lost if you're breathing that air every day, right? Unsustainable, right? Well, water and air are going to be foremost on the minds of everyone on the planet, just the way COVID-19 was foremost on the minds of everyone in the last year, right? Once, yeah, well, I'm not a doomsayer, but water, drinkable water, is the secret that makes our planet different from Mars. Look at some of those photos coming back from Perseverance, the Mars rover. You'll see there's no water there. We've got water. I turn the tap here on the Gold Coast, but that's not true everywhere anymore. And it's going to be more valuable than oil. You can't drink oil. You can drink water. And we need that. So, as I say, one of the things I'm going to be doing as I go through the verses of the 10 stages is my stories and my illustrations are going to be coming from an environmental perspective. So the idea of wanting to make it last. So that if I was a parent, if I had a child, I don't have a child, if I had a child who was 2 years old, 4 years old, 6 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old, I would worry. How are they going to sustain it? What if there's no water, right? The wisdom of Native Americans, indigenous people worldwide, say every decision that we make should be made with the 7 generations in mind. How is this decision, is this action going to impact the children of my children, of my children, of their children, of their children, of 7 generations? That's the way decisions should be made about how we live in the world. Makes sense to me. And right now, we are on track to leave our grandchildren an empty cupboard. No water to drink, not enough food, right? So big issues, big issues. Song that I wrote in Oregon, having witnessed clear cutting, where a mountainside is shaved of every living thing. And it will be that way for generations. And it's essentially a dead mountain. And it's tragic. It's humanity at our very, very worst. Greedy, fighting, greed, seeking, selfishness, self-benefit, dishonesty, all there in clear cutting. One company's temporary profits ruin a mountain for the rest of the world. That's just short-sighted and selfish. So I wrote a song, and I want to, here it is on YouTube, if anybody is interested to listen to it for yourself. Here's the URL, and I'll type it in the box. Maybe you can pass it on to YouTube. Anyway, I want you to hear it because I recorded this, and the recorded version sounds better than what I can do right here just on my banjo. But I'll show you the lyrics while you listen. Here we go. And gratitude to Jody Stecker, Robin Petrie, and others who are playing along. Hi. Top. Here we go.
My tall fir trees touch the sky, where eagles raise their young. Timber wolves would serenade when sundown song was sung. Salmon swam home to their streams. each year you'd find them there. Redwoods like cathedrals, every breath was like a prayer. Turtle Island lullaby, song for the end of day, to ease us into twilight and send us on our way. We are all related on this planet that we share. Have we learned a lesson? Small blue marble in the air, you wasted all my topsoil. You fished my waters dry. You clear-cut my green trees. I can't breathe and I can't cry. What about your children? How far can you see? What we do to our neighbors becomes our destiny. Turtle Island lullaby, song for the end of the day, to ease us into twilight and send us on our way. We are all related on this planet that we share. Have we learned a lesson? Small blue marble in the air. Good night to the salmon. Good night to the seal. Good night to the turtles. May your spirits be healed. No one owns the fire. No one owns the air. No one owns the water. The earth's a gift to share. Life itself is sacred. May we all one day be healed. May we find our great compassion when our kinship is revealed. Turtle Island lullaby, song for the end of the day, to ease us into twilight and send us on our way. We are all related on this planet that we share. Have we learned a lesson? Small blue marble in the air.
Alrighty. So that's Turtle Island Lullaby. Turtle Island was the Native Americans' name for America. That we, it was a perfectly good name, right? And white folks came, got out of their ships and claimed it. It was another name. So Turtle Island. The turtle weeps when he is clear cut. We are done for today. Thank you for joining. I'd like to invite the monks of Berkeley Monastery, if they have any announcements, to make them right now. Anybody got something to share?
Yeah, 阿弥陀佛，是静传，我敬伟师。
阿弥陀佛。
So in terms of our events at the monastery, we have all our regular programs going. So our daily ceremonies starting from 5 a.m. to like, for instance, this lecture 9 p.m. We have Marty starting his lectures now. He just gave his second one, which is on Friday evenings.
Avatamsaka Sutra.
On Avatamsaka Sutra as well. we have the Wednesday Stephen Tainer and a number of other lectures. I think maybe one thing that is good for people to know, because we have so many in our community who kind of are probably connected, is we had an elder in our community, I think Zhao Mama, pass away. I think BBM. I don't know how many years, Dharmas, we've been going to the elders to recite. It's like a decade?
More.
2 decades?
2, yeah.
2 decades. We've been going in the monastery every month for 2 decades to visit Zhao Mama, who is a very, very sincere Pure Land practitioner. And she actually, we heard, passed away 3 days ago, I think.
2 days.
4 days ago, 3 or 4 days ago. And so we wish to do a memorial service for her. And we're currently planning for, we need to check out all the dates, but right now we're thinking of doing it on March 21st at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's March 20th.
Will be daylight time or standard time?
It's I think it's standard times. Whatever time is the change. Yeah, we're changing very soon the daylight savings. So so it's California time essentially. So March, that's Sunday, March 21st, 3 p.m. And I think we're planning on using the same Zoom link that we usually use for our BBM online. So I'm sure many of our community would want to participate. And so if you are connected at all, you're welcome to join and recite along to dedicate merit for her smooth rebirth in the Pure Land. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you say one thing about her that I found super inspiring was I was talking with some of the lay people was when people would visit her, people would go and want to wish her well in her old age. When they visited, she says, don't come here to socialize with me. We just come here to recite the Buddha's name together. So when people went to visit her, they just recited the Buddha's name. That's what her primary thing they did. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. And she was how old when she passed away?
I think 100.
Over 100.
Over 100.
Yeah. Zhao Mama. Yeah.
Zhao Mama.
She's a laywoman in our community, and her daughters are very sincere as well.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for that. If people want to take part, what do they do?
They just go to the BBM online Zoom link. That is the regular one we have been using throughout the months. So if you just go to any of our, you just click on the join our program on your website. Yeah, just register here to join. Just click that and you'll get the link. So just register and you'll get a link. If you can't, just send us an email. You go to the contact form and send us an email, and we are happy to send you the link as well. If you, but it's the same one. So if you've been joining all our programs, you can go directly there.
All right. Great. Yeah. Okay. Appreciate that. I believe, correct me if I'm not right, that in California tonight, daylight savings shifts. I think
yes.
So set your clocks back. You get an extra hour of sleep tonight. That's for North America. I think Indiana doesn't do daylight savings. Everybody else does. So, all right. Now, we have been reciting Medicine Buddha's mantra in place of our dedication of merit. We're using this as our dedication of merit because the power of Medicine Buddha's mantra is aimed directly at the COVID-19 virus. So we are hoping that people will make a wish to send out the goodness wherever you would have it go, and use this melody and these sounds to carry the energy of your gongda, your merit and your virtue, where you want it to be. Okay, so once the virus is under control, we'll be back to may every living being our regular repentance tune. For the time being, we're borrowing Medicine Buddha's awesome spiritual strength. Okay, please make that wish, and we'll see you next week. That mantra is also a really good one to walk with. Just let that rhythm guide your feet, carry you down the road. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. See you all next week.